Alright guys, what is up? Today we are going to be cleaning and prepping our transmission. So the main goal today is just to clean it up. You can see in here there is a lot of gunk going on. It looked like there was a rear main seal leak in the car that this came out of. If you can see that, it is just gunked up all over. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to clean that out. We're going to clean off the rest of the transmission as well. We have an ISR short shifter. Let me show you that. It looks so good, guys. It's just absolutely amazing. I love it. And I've got my custom 3D printed knob right here. This may be available online, we'll see. I'll let you guys know, keep updated on the zgarage.net. We've got that to install. We're gonna go check this out. We have a new speedometer pinion. We might not install that yet just because we don't want to break it in transport. We're gonna clean all this up, and it's also a good time to see if we need any other things on here. We also have our polyurethane bushing that we're gonna see if we need to put that on yet or if we should wait. So let's go ahead and get going with this. Basically, you're just going to want a pad that is non-abrasive, non-metallic. That way it doesn't scratch anything. And we're just going to clean up the inside here. We're going to go ahead and pull out the fork and the throwout bearing because we have new ones of those. And basically just clean it up. So let's go ahead and get going with that. Alright guys, what we're going to go ahead and do now, I went ahead and cleaned the transmission pretty well, and I gave it a good washing, and then I scraped it on the outside with a steel brush, and that helped get most of the dirt and grime off. Probably going to go over the inside a little bit again, because as you can see, there's still, well, it's kind of dark so you can't really see, there's still a little bit of the oil plus clutch dust in there, and it is so hard to get off. But what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to replace the shifter now. You can see the old boot was just completely torn and it is just leaking all over. So we're going to go ahead, unbolt these. They look like 12 millimeters. And we're going to go ahead and put the new ISR on. Alright guys, so as you can see we got the new ISR short shifter installed and it looks great. So what I had to do is I took the old shifter off right here. I took it off and I cleaned up there was a gasket material in between this. I put a new gasket on. That took me about an hour to get that off because it was just so nasty and stuck on there. You can see it had failed at the front, which is why it's kind of covered in grease here. It definitely had been leaking. So I put a new gasket on. That is this right here. Since this is the 71C transmission, anything that it fits the S13 fits this. I got this from frspeed.com, if I believe. It was like $15, but you can get them on eBay for about the same price. So I got that guy right there with the gasket and everything. And I've got a few more pieces I'm going to install. This is the shift boot for the clutch fork. This is actually an upgraded clutch fork. It's got a bar right here. It's just a reinforcement. It's not too fancy. You can see the original just looks like that, just without this piece of metal here. What you can do is get the 350Z clutch fork, I believe, and that is a solid cast iron piece. And if you're going for high horsepower, that is what I would recommend. This actually a shift boot right here that goes right here. So this one that's ripped and torn, that shift boot is actually what this is. I don't think I can use that on this because it's completely different. But I did order that before I got this, so I didn't know about that. So we're not going to use that. This is our new slave cylinder. We're going to go ahead and put that on the bottom. And then this is our new speedometer pinion. Right there's the old one. It's probably not bad, but I just want to replace it just for the O-rings anyway. And it's a bit dirty right there. You can see the person who got this transmission out of the car just straight up wire cut the speedometer cable out of there. But there you go guys, I'm going to go ahead and install all of these and I will show you once we're all done. It should be fairly quick, and I might get the throwout bearing already in there, and we're going to get some more grease and put it in all of these parts. Alright guys, so what I wanted to go ahead and tackle first, because it was kind of the biggest mystery for me, was the throwout bearing. So this is the sleeve. These two were once together. This was on here in the silver part. And basically what this does is this pushes up against the clutch to disengage and re-engage the clutch. So what you have to do is you have to push this bearing out. And the way I did it, and the reason why this is an unknown, guys, is because you kind of want to press it in correctly, or else it can wear out the bearing and then consequently destroy your clutch. But what I went ahead and did is I found this piece of pipe. and it basically fit perfectly onto the inner lip here of the throwout bearing itself. Then I went ahead and stuck the bearing so that it clamps down onto the bearing itself, not onto this. I went ahead and put it in some vice grips, and then I just grabbed a sledgehammer like this, gave it a couple taps on the top, and I caught it as it was popped out of the bottom. So now this old bearing, we're going to go ahead and get rid of it. You can see I actually kind of popped out of the little socket right there. And we have our new throwout bearing here. This came with our clutch kit. This is, if you can see, this is a Koyo. It was made in Japan, so this seems like a pretty legit unit. This came with the Exceedy clutch kit that I bought off of rockauto.com. And basically this is the back part here, this is the front, this is what contacts the clutch plate. And we're going to go ahead and push this back on. Go ahead and move that. We're just going to go ahead and press this back on. I think what I'm going to do is just kind of sit it in here sideways and slowly push it back on by tightening the vice grip. This is probably not the recommended method to do it. And again, guys, if you want to be 100% sure on this, take it to a professional, and they will definitely be able to do it for you with 100% guarantees to make sure you don't mess anything up. But this is all about me wanting to do it. This is my car, and I want to be able to build it. So I'm going to go ahead and slowly push it on. I'm going to use these wood blocks here as to not scratch up either of the surfaces, because metal on metal contact will leave marks, but wood is too soft and it will just push in and sink if it gets too hard. But I'm going to go ahead and clean up the sleeve first, just give it like a little cleaning. It's got all of the grease and clutch dust on it from inside of the transmission that I had to clean out, all that gunk. So I'm going to go ahead and give that a clean real quick, and then press this on, and we're going to go ahead and move on to the rest of what we do. Alright guys, if you can see, our throwout bearing sleeve is now a silver color instead of the black kind of grayish it was before. So this is looking really good now, cleaned up really nicely. You can see a little bit on the bottom here. We'll go ahead and take a look. These little tabs are what the clutch fork pushes on. And you can see it's actually grooved a little bit right there. From the clutch fork. I believe whoever had this transmission before me either didn't like servicing it or didn't take it to qualified mechanics when they did, because these parts are supposed to have grease on them so that that doesn't happen, so that you don't get that wear. But it's good that we have a new clutch fork. It's not too big of a deal on this. It's maybe 1/2 millimeter when you actually look at it from the side. It's really not too big of a problem. But of course you don't really want that, so if you have any problems with that, go and buy a new one. They're not too expensive, but I'm just going to use this one because it's what I've got and there's really no problem with it that I can see. So I'm going to go ahead and press this on real quick. I don't have my tripod with me right now, so I'm not going to be able to video it, but I'll kind of just show you guys the setup before I start with the pieces on each side, and then we can move on to the rest of the transmission. Alright, so this is the basic setup. We've got a piece of wood on this side, piece of wood on this side, the sleeve here, this is the back facing towards the back, we got the front out this direction, and basically we're just going to sandwich it in together. The only thing to watch out for when you're doing this is making sure it's going on straight and even. You can see I've got it nice in the center because there's only this sliver part here that pushes, and it doesn't necessarily need to be centered on top. But we want it to be nice and centered so there's even pressure on it. If you had a bigger piece of wood that would go from the top to the bottom of this as well, that'd probably be the best bet. But I've centered everything on here, so it should be all good. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and push this down. I'm going to watch it, make sure it's going on nice and smooth. It did go on like maybe 1 millimeter or so, just by kind of pushing it lightly with my hands. So it kind of seats itself initially. But then we're going to press this on. It's going to go all the way towards the back till it won't go any further, and we'll call it a day. Alright guys, there it is, all pressed in. It was actually really easy to get in, didn't take much force at all. There were a couple times where I kind of go forward really quick, like advance about 1 millimeter or 2, and then slow down and have to take more time to tense up, and then it's kind of slip again. I don't think that's a terrible thing to happen. I was watching it was going on straight. And I did seat it all the way towards the back, and I compressed it a little bit so that the wood started to get pushed in, but not too hard as to break the bearing. But that's pretty much it, guys. So this is ready to go on the car. You may notice in the center there's a grease trap in there, so we're going to be filling this with grease before we put it on. And when I put it on, I'll show you guys everything if I can. But we're going to go ahead and move on now. We're going to go ahead and clean up the clutch fork area and get that all settled in, as well as the what is it called? The slave master cylinder, or the slave cylinder, not master. We're going to do the slave cylinder as well, pretty much get everything done, and I think the speedometer pinion will probably be last. Alright guys, so now we're going to move on to the slave cylinder. It goes on the side of the transmission. You can see there's the starter, and then right next to it is a little thing for this. This might be upside down, I have to double check on that. But here's our slave cylinder right here, and if you look, don't let that pin fall. The pin does not come pre-installed, so you have to put it in. Alright, so in here it kind of just basically a little, kind of just like a little pit, and basically it just pushes out and it pushes the pin. You're going to put the pin with the kind of ball side, so it's fatter towards the outside, so it's going outwards. Basically I'm just going to put a little bit of grease in here. It's not actually rubbing against anything, it's going to be pretty much stationary its entire life. But we're going to put a little grease in, just so if any dirt gets in, it doesn't actually get between the pin and that and possibly do any damage. What I'm going to use for my grease is right here. This is going to be for all the grease that we're going to use. We're going to use this Royal Purple. This is the Ultra Performance grease. You don't need Royal Purple. I just like it. I think it's really great. Any high temperature, heavy duty grease will work. I got this from Pep Boys. I believe AutoZone should have the same thing. Most parts or like auto places should have something like this. But basically you want a high performance multi-purpose. It doesn't have to be you know, super special or anything, but I like Royal Purple because it's purple and it looks cool. So this is the grease I'm going to be using for this. I'm going to put just a little tiny bit in there, just so that it contacts the end. Then we're going to be coating the sleeve. We're going to be coating this ball here, and we're going to be coating. This is the sleeve right here. We're going to put it on these ends here so that it doesn't wear away any more than it already has. So we're going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to just put a little dab in here, and then we're going to go ahead and bolt this onto the side of the transmission. Alright guys, so went ahead and mounted onto the side of the transmission there. It is important it goes in this direction. It's kind of hard to do it any other direction because it wouldn't make sense. But the bleeder valve goes towards the bottom. This is the bottom of the transmission, this direction. It's on its side right now. It's important to note there's a couple starter bolts behind it. Don't worry about those being covered up. They're for the starter, I believe, or a bracket of some sort. And then for the grease that I put in here, it was just a little dab. There's a picture on the screen right now. I did confer with a couple other people. It is not necessary to put grease in there. You can just leave it as is. I just wanted to be a little extra safe. So now we're going to go ahead and put the clutch fork in. It's going to come through that little window over here, and it's going to go onto this pivot ball. We're going to go ahead and put some grease on there as well. We're going to go ahead and put some grease inside the clutch fork itself, and get that all taken care of. Good thing to note, there is a turbocharged creations video, which I will link in the description, I believe, and he is installing a 30A transmission, and it is very similar to this one, and he goes through a lot of the same processes, and he goes through all this as well. If you want to see what he does, I believe we're doing the same thing. I've watched his video, and we're just kind of doing the same stuff, but he does go, and he has some time lapses of those things, if you want to see him actually do it, other than me kind of just showing you what I'm going to do. But there you go guys, I'm going to go ahead and install that. I believe this boot was upside down, because if it was like this, it would get in the way of the slave cylinder. So it's going to go in like that, upside down that way, and the clutch fork's going to go in there. We're going to go ahead and grease up this sleeve here. We're going to go ahead and grease up the inside of our cylinder there, and we're going to grease up the clutch forks and get it all put together. Alright guys, went ahead and got everything on. Got the clutch fork in, I got the ball seated, and I put grease on all the spots. I put some grease inside here as well as on the shaft itself when I put it on, and then sunk it in. I believe it should be fine. I put grease on the splines. I believe that's what you need to do. If not, it'll flash on your screen right now. That is where the clutch will slide as well. So this throwout bearing will push the pressure plate on the clutch, and it will activate it or not, and then the clutch transfers through these splines to the transmission. So there's lubricant on that as well. Other than that, we're good on this side. I seated this. The boot does go out of the side like this, but I had to push it down a little bit. So I don't know if this is the wrong boot. I got this from a pretty stand-up guy, the part number for it. So I'm just gonna kind of leave it like that. It doesn't seem to be affecting anything, but it does move in and out with the slave cylinder. So last thing that we need to do for today, I might work on the, I might actually work on the mount, but we'll see. Last thing for today is going to be the speedometer pinion. We have this new one right here. It's not very expensive, it's like $30 I believe. And we're going to go ahead and just undo that real quick and put the new one in. Alright guys, so what I went ahead and did is unscrewed the back of this. It kind of comes off, it just got like this little toothed gear in there. It's pretty simple, it just unscrews. What we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to undo this. I believe this is an 8mm. We're just going to take this and then we should be able to take some pliers, just grab it and pop it right out. Alright guys, so there is a groove towards the bottom here that this little bracket kind of thing goes on. So we want to put the groove towards the bottom next to the screw. We're going to get a rubber mallet, or if you don't have one, put a piece of wood on top of it. And we're going to gently tap it into place. Alright, then we're going to go ahead and grab this little bracket again. Let's clean it off. Alright, we're going to go ahead, stick that right in there. Alright guys, what we're going to go ahead and do for now is we're going to go ahead and take that cap off of the old one. Let's go ahead and grab it. We're going to take this cap, we'll go ahead and clean it up real quick, and we're going to put this on for now. This isn't what this is not what we're going to use when we actually put the transmission in the car. This is just to kind of keep it sealed up for now, because this does have fluid that runs through it, and this is all kind of nasty, you can see. But we're going to go ahead and use the one on the car right now once we go ahead and put this transmission in, because the line isn't cut and it's in a little bit better condition as well. So we're just going to go ahead and stick this on just right now after we clean it up, and then that should be pretty much it for today, guys. Alright guys, that about sums it up for today. We got a bunch of stuff done. We got the ISR short shifter in, and we got a bunch of stuff in here all cleaned up and installed as well. What we're going to go ahead and do next time, we're going to go ahead and put in a polyurethane bushing. I got this one used, but you can get them new for like $35. They're pretty dang cheap. And what we're going to go ahead and do is install them on our cross member right here. So that should be it, guys. Look for that next video coming out for the polyurethane bushing. I know a lot of people would probably want to see that. And if you have any questions about what I did here today, or you think I did something wrong, which is a pretty big chance because I am a novice at some of this, go ahead and drop a comment down below. If I did something wrong, I will definitely put a reminder in the description on how to fix what I did, as well as possibly make a correction video. There you go, guys. See you later, and I hope you have a great day.